Hey listeners, welcome to another episode of Room for Seconds. I'm Justin Egan with Craveworthy Brands, introducing this week's episode drop. At the 2024 Prosper Forum, Gregg Majewski, CEO of Craveworthy Brands, and Heather Leed Neary, CEO of the beloved Taco John's, sat down with Paul Barron to discuss one of the most trending topics in all of 2024, adopting and implementing restaurant technology. With 16 brands folded into the Craveworthy Brands portfolio in just 2 short years, you can bet Gregg and his team have come across all kinds of legacy tech solutions. This is your chance to hear from experts on how to sift through a sea of alternatives to build a tech stack that actually works for stakeholders. So stop what you're doing, listen to this episode, and subscribe to Room for Seconds for more weekly inspirational content like what you're about to hear. Thanks for listening and enjoy this week's episode of Room for Seconds.
All right, so we are back here at the Prosper Forum doing another podcast. And today I've got with me Gregg Majewski, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Craveworthy Brands. And of course, Ms. Heather Leed Neary, who is the President and CEO over at Taco John's. So first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
It's early here at Prosper. So first of all, thanks for coming out early and kind of foregoing some of the festivities. I want to just jump into a little bit, because our topic today is really to dive into how brands are dealing with some of the technology space, both on adoption, but also on implementing technology. So it's better to, it's kind of like when social media was first brought out in 2007. A lot of people looked at it, but didn't necessarily act on it in terms of brands. And Heather, let's start with you. Give us a rundown on what you guys are doing around tech. Anything fun?
Yeah, so at Taco John's, we're a 55-year-old legacy brand with a lot of longtime franchisees and a lot of single unit operators.
Right.
So we're doing a lot with tech that a lot of other brands probably did 10 or 15 years ago, but we're catching up now. And it's exciting. It's an exciting time to be at Taco John's. We've got a lot of work to do around integrating, make sure all the systems are talking to each other. That's probably our biggest opportunity right now. It's just the integration from back of house to the POS to the data analytics that we're running on Power BI and all the pieces in between.
Yeah. So you guys have an active social media team, I saw.
We do.
So that's been very effective for you. It appears that your consumer is also migrating well into Taco John's. We started to run a little bit of data on you guys to kind of get an idea. Very high performance in terms of consumer brand loyalty and consumer love for the food. So congrats on what you guys are doing there. Is there anything specific that you think, hey, this is what we're doing that's kind of connecting the dots there for your customer?
I think just talking about why people love our brand and talking about it in the language that our consumers are using is really important for us. We do have really raving fans of the brand, and it's exciting to see that. We've kind of historically been in the Midwest and in small towns, and we're kind of making sure that we're continuing to capture that in every step of the process.
Yeah. Gregg, Craveworthy Brands, you guys are all over the map right now. You've got brands kind of covering a lot of different categories. You guys are also growing very fast. So when you have, first of all, multi-brand and then also growth mechanisms happening, how do you keep up with the tech space?
It's like a old-fashioned cluster. We have our roadmap. So the best thing about what we did was we set up where we wanted to go for the ideal situation.
Okay.
And then we know who we want to use for loyalty. We know who we want to use for, customer feedback and then back office and all that. So we have our main players. Those are set. And then every once in a while we go into a company or we buy a company, we find something that we don't want there that we're stuck with for a little bit. And that's the integrational and the struggle that we have to go through. So the most recent transaction that we did has a bunch of tech that I absolutely despise. And I'm stuck with it for another year because they won't let you out of the contract. They won't break it. You can't go and ask your, great vendors to continue to pay every time I go and buy something that has something that I need to remove. And so we're sitting there and we're trying to figure out how to play with it. And I got so mad one day that I couldn't get the data that I needed to make a decision on stores that I called the Restaurant 365 and I said, hey, I know we're not ready, you're not set up. I go, but I need this done in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I have to have certain things that are completely the way that I see them so I can do what I need to do. And with all the different brands, I have to have reports in the same format from everything that I'm looking at. Otherwise, my mind can't I can't learn fast enough on what's going on in those situations. So for us, that's really a non-negotiable is having that Restaurant 365 platform running my back office and labor and management and all that.
So you've been able to kind of map the brands to fit the tech but yet is still unique enough to the brand itself, right?
So I am of the opinion that restaurants are all really the same with a different brand in front. So whatever the tech is, the order platform is, how you go about it, there's no difference between it. It's the same four walls. What makes a brand so unique and different is the food and then the branding and the messaging that you have. Ease of ordering is ease of ordering everywhere. So if you can find best in class kiosks like a Bite or somebody of that nature, you go ahead and you plug that in everywhere, because why do you want to continue to reinvent every wheel? And so to us, it's just, let's put in what we know that works and then put the brand and the food and let that be where we spend all our time making each brand different.
How has been when you come into either a new brand acquisition, they may have a tech stack that is set here, doesn't necessarily align with what you guys are doing at Craveworthy. How do you help that brand transition? Because now they're changing, to match up with you guys. Obviously that's for the better good, long term, but what's do you get pushback? Do you get acceptance, or what's the process?
I've not seen pushback from the customer at all. It's always the staff that has the pushback. I have to learn something new, or you've got to educate me. And we go out of our way to make training the focal point of what we do every day. And that's, can't run a restaurant or a brand or a system or whatever you do without perfect training. So we spend all our time and energy on getting them inundated in our culture and our training pieces, so they think that it's going to make their lives better. And if we believe in it, you're going to end up believing it. But we show you and teach you in such a way that we don't make it where it's, I got to do this. When we switch, it's all done. They came in, they get fully trained, and it's like it never happened.
Perfect. Well, okay, so you as with Craveworthy, you get a chance to see all these tech coming in, whether it's customer facing, back of house, operational. Is there one thing right now that you're looking at that says this could really be the next, thing forward? Is there anything that really is kind of stuck out for you?
So I actually think right now there's so much in this space that it's so confusing, and everyone does half of something, no one does anything. I think the tech side really now needs to go into a consolidation play where these companies start to merge with themselves.
You think that'll happen?
I do think it's going to start to happen, because it happens in every industry. Otherwise, they're going bye-bye. Because the restaurant industry is not going to continue to pay a service fee or monthly subscription fee for all these different platforms. You're up to $1,400, $1,500, $1,600 a month. So we need to
per unit.
Right.
Yeah, per unit.
And so you're going to see somebody come in and start to consolidate the pieces. So will a Marquee go and buy somebody? Will an Ovation go and buy somebody to continue to move forward? That's to be seen. You've seen Restaurant 365 buying everything. They buy a training platform because they don't want you to leave. Right. They go out. And so the big boys are already doing it. The smaller ones are going to have to catch up.
So Heather, with over 400 units, 23 states, 55-year-old brand, and now you're updating technology. What kind of challenges are you facing, whether it's with franchisees being resistant or just getting the message out in training? What kind of challenges are you facing right now?
Well, all of the above. First of all, I think for us, the biggest challenge is really explaining the why behind it and helping our franchisees understand this is going to help them run their business more efficiently. We've got a big focus on unit level economics, but unit level economics, when they hear about $1,400 per month per unit, what does that $1,400 in technology fees translate to in terms of the efficiency of running their business, whether it's $700 or $1,400, whatever the dollar amount is. So there's a challenge in selling it in, because you have to explain the what's in it for me. But probably more importantly is it just has to work.
Right.
So Gregg, to your point about the consolidation, these things need to talk to each other. These things need to work seamlessly. The average franchisee who is a mom and pop operator who is, working open to close 5 or 6 or 7 days a week, they don't really care what's happening as long as it works. And when it doesn't work, that's a problem. And so I think our biggest challenge is making sure everything's talking to each other in a way that's seamless and people are getting the reports that they need when they need them. They're getting the data they need when they need it. They're able to place an order for their food when they need it. They're able to understand what their prep guide should look like when they need it. They're able to do a schedule based on forecasting that's accurate when they need it. And so that's the biggest opportunity for us. Challenge, opportunity, you look at it whichever way you want to.
I'm Gregg Majewski, and I've been a multi-unit operator for 26 years. I know how great it feels owning the right franchise brand, but choosing the right franchisor feels even better. At Craveworthy Brands, our hospitality-driven culture sets us apart because we're invested in your success at every single stage of your journey. We're operators alongside you, paving the way forward to give you a head start on greatness. Start your franchise journey at craveworthybrands.com.
Yeah.
It's interesting because you're mentioning something that I think is very important. You look at the challenges that both you guys are dealing with in the terms of potential just too much overhead.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see the actual tech companies working with you guys to try to resolve that? I'm kind of curious.
To bring the fees down?
Well, they realize that, okay, we're missing that piece. We either need to come up with a solution, we need to acquire a company, to solve this for what could be thousands of units for them in terms of brands.
I think the best tech companies are ones that have operators at the heart of their businesses. Okay. And when you understand what the franchise business looks like, when you understand that a single unit operator has a much different set of economics than a multi-unit operator. And they both play a role in our system. So we've got about 117 single unit operators in our system, and then the balance are multi-unit operators. But those 117 are critical to our success as a brand, and their needs are different than a 45, 50, 60 unit operator. Yeah. And we need to recognize both of those pieces.
Yeah, I think this is a critical part that really of almost any industry out there. If you don't have operators really at the core of what you're trying to solve, in many cases, there's so many nuances that are just missed, that an operator would clearly say, okay, well, you shouldn't have done it that way. I get that. Let's flip out other challenges.
Well, I know Gregg has lots of challenges, so.
In a good way.
In a good way, absolutely.
This is insider information.
Sorry, I don't want to release any secrets, but you talked about coming in and having a tech stack that you just plain old didn't like. Mm-hmm. Have there been any times that when you've been stuck with it for a year that it had dramatic effects within the organization?
I mean, when you take a tech stack that isn't where it should be and isn't set up properly, there's ordering issues. Yeah. And so when we look at things, the first thing and the only thing that matters is the customer getting the most easy way and to order wherever they are. So that's the first focal point for us every day. And how do I get my customers an ease to order our products day in and day out? And I don't have the money in these brands to go and build robust, incredible, mobile apps. We have to find another way to do it and then make it right. So we spent all our money on Craveworthy Kitchen, which is our online platform that sort of ties all of my brands together. Right. And we went all in on developing that, not because we really thought it was the best way, but I could spend enough money between all the brands to build this just kick-ass online ordering system and app and everything else, and then skin them for each brand. Mm-hmm. But it also allowed me to do something completely different in the world of restaurants. Is now I'm going to offer 4 or 5 brands in every one of my restaurants to be able to have customers come in and order. So if you go into Genghis, you can order Lucky Cat, you can order our spinoff of Asian, you can do a breakfast concept. When you come in and we're adding incremental revenue, that ordering process had to be so seamless. So that was our focal point. And so if we can't get that right, we can't do what we need to do to build that top line sales. And every piece of tech that we bring in, to me, has to bring in top line sales, more importantly than anything, because it should flow down to the bottom. And I don't really believe it makes my management life easier philosophy in tech. I think that's a load of crap on a selling point. It gives them a tool to use, and yes, it may make it easier, but using pen and paper to go ahead and figure out how much lettuce you should cut in a day was as easy as typing it in a computer and going over and having it spit out for you. There's no difference really in time. It just makes them dumber to have to have the computer do it.
You look at engagement of customers today, changing demographics right now. We've got the under 40 demographic now really controlling a pretty large percentage of the spend in restaurants, and also taking more and more each year, obviously from Gen X and the boomers. Heather, when you look at engagement right now, is there any one or two things that you guys are doing that you think is helping you get lift, out of Taco John's in terms of whether it's social, something you're doing on a rewards or loyalty program? Can you give us some insights?
Yeah, we just recently relaunched a lot of our social efforts to really do a better job of focusing on Gen Z and the Alpha Gen to make sure that we're staying relevant to those younger audiences. We are in smaller towns. So one of the things we found success with, and this might sound a little pedestrian, but some of the NIL deals with athletes in smaller towns.
Yeah.
We have an opportunity for us because we are in a lot of those college towns. Those college athletes that are the basketball players, the swimmers, the volleyball players, the football players, those folks are really well known in their communities. And for a great dollar amount that works for them and works for us, we're able to draw a large crowd there. So we've been doing
have like a social media audience.
100%. They've got a huge social following, and their social following is largely in the towns where they operate. So it's a great opportunity for us to tap into the NIL, which wasn't available to us as as a brand years ago.
That's a big leap forward, really.
It's
if
huge.
You think about sports marketing in general, that's
huge.
That's a big step. What about you? Go ahead.
And then just being relevant with the different trends that are happening in the social space. We don't have to be bleeding edge, but we have to be in the edge. Like, we don't have to be the first ones to adopt a new platform or a new trend, but we've got to be there in the conversation to make sure that we're relevant.
What's working for you guys? If you think about the current platforms that I would say fit restaurants better, either Instagram or TikTok, those seem to be the two that are most viral for restaurants. Is there one that works better for you guys?
For us, it's been TikTok and influencers, and having the influencers help us to promote the brand. Instagram is always a great steady Eddie.
Yeah.
It's a great platform for us to share our brand. We do skew a little bit older, so we're trying to make sure that we're capturing those younger audiences. And a Gen Y, Gen X group is probably more on Instagram, so that's what that's catering to. The TikTok is more for our younger audience.
Interesting. How about you, Greg?
So we 100% TikTok, and then if it works on TikTok, Instagram is going to get it no matter what. So in my eyes, let's spend the money and the time on TikTok, get that going. Those are the youth. And then unfortunately, Instagram is an old people's platform now. And so they always get something second anyway. So they get the trends later.
Yeah.
So as long as it ends up there, we're much better off going after the youth first.
Has there been any impact in terms of online ordering or mobile ordering that you're seeing? Okay, this is working, this isn't working.
So you can see some bump if you get the right influencer, but most of us can't afford the right influencers.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So you need to create those moments on your own that get repeated. Obviously, if you could get a Kendall Jenner or somebody like that to eat your sandwich or your pizza or whatever, that's going to send yourself through the roof. We were talking about Dana White, and he went and had a bone broth that he did this fast with, and this bone broth that he did, and he didn't say anything. He just put what he was doing. Mm-hmm. They went from being negative to now like plus 7 million for the year in units because all he did was use the product. So if you have the right one, it can skyrocket you. It's how to find that right person or that right catch and making connections. So we're spending a lot of time in the athlete world trying to get to know and partner with the athletes to get the athletes to sort of just naturally be part of our family. And that's recruiting them to be franchisees. It's recruiting them to be investment partners.
Yeah, for sure.
And then once they're in, they'll go ahead and talk about you.
Well, I think authenticity also matters. Like you're mentioning what Dana was doing with his, that time where he was shredding. That was a very authentic use. He was showing, all right, this is what I'm doing. This is real. It wasn't like, hey guys, this is product A or product B. Do you find that as a key component?
So I don't think the consumer, especially the youth, they know when it's fake, and they don't really want the ma influencer to tell them what they should be doing.
Exactly.
So the worst thing is we had a mom blogger, and again, they have their niche, but that niche then gets carried because you're posting it everywhere. Because oh my God, I got a big influencer.
Sure.
And that the kids don't want to see mom eating what they want to go and eat. So it's like, where do you balance and who do you go after and who's more important? Today, the most important customer we're going to have is the 14 to 28. Because at 14 to 28 is the next 20 years that you're going to be getting. I don't need to spend the time on the Utah moms. that are out there to continue to drive traffic.
Yeah.
They're not my bread and butter anymore.
Interesting.
Greg, I'm interested across your 13 brands and talking about social. Like, I work with 10 small brands, and that's a lot to manage all of the social to make sure you're staying specifically on brand voice, that you're being relevant, that you're reaching, the proper audience. What kind of infrastructure do you have to handle 13 different brands?
So my marketing team is my second biggest team in the entire company. So it's accounting and then marketing. And ops is actually a smaller, tighter knit group than both of those because it is so time consuming and hard. And then it's using me as a tool to make sure that I'm continuing to sort of talk about the brands and stuff like that, because we brought up authentic. I'm as authentic as it can possibly be about what my food is and, where we are and where we're talking, and getting those sort of images where, hey, there's a video out there that I, critique my food that I was so mad that we posted to show the customer that we care so much that I come in and we try it. That's one of our best reviewed videos because I was pissed.
Yeah.
And it was like, no, this ain't right. We got to do this. And I made them cook it 4 times. And we put that online to say, this is how much we care. And that was like our best thing we ever did because it was authentic. It was, hey, somebody actually gives a crap about what we're doing. We're starting a series where when we mess up an order, we're going to now show us remaking it and winning the customer back and going.
That's cool.
And going into, hey, we all get customer complaints. So now let's take this complaint and make it a win so the complaints that come in, hey, we forgot something or we did this, we're going to start personally delivering to them remade food or correction and show the win back.
I think that wins so big with the customer these days, especially because with service falling off, you get a chance to really get maybe a lifelong customer when you do those little touches.
And that's what we've always done.
Yeah.
So now let's make it so customers know this is how much we care. If you don't like something, we want to make it right.
Yeah.
And that's so different than everybody else.
And you'll be starring in those?
Not all of them, but some of them.
There you go. Let's get into future trends, Heather. All right. So you think about the category of fast casual. Both of you are in it. You look at fast casual has shifted over the last 20 years to become what was the birth of the next generation of restaurant trends and brands, to now we're seeing fast casual concepts that are almost like chess pieces within the industry. You look at what's happening with Brian Niccol with Chipotle, now moving over to Starbucks. We're also seeing that in the mid-size and smaller brands as well. Key executive positions. When you look at future trends, how do you see fast casual kind of aligning? Do you still see it as the cornerstone of growth?
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's about feeding our customers and feeding our guests and delivering a product that people are interested in enjoying and delivering a great customer experience. So if you do screw up, how you make that right moving forward. I think it's also about staying on trend with what's happening in the future. Is fast casual the cornerstone? Is it? I don't know. It's a good question. I think it's one piece of the puzzle, and it's one need that is met by different restaurants that are out there.
Yeah. Do you see a difference right now between QSR, which has started to elevate their menus, and also both in price and quality, that has started to impede on what fast casual has kind of had a cornerstone on right now? Are you seeing competition like that?
I think when you think about the quality piece and the price point, I think those are both issues, and then the speed. Right, we're all crunched for time.
Yep.
When QSR and fast casual are kind of blending themselves, and you've got everybody in the fast casual space adding drive-throughs, like QSR's already did, and focusing on speed of service and quality of product, and the price point is on parity with QSR. I do think it becomes a much more blended conversation.
Interesting. And
I think it's it's an opportunity for all of us to elevate our game when we're being challenged from different corners.
You guys have drive-throughs in all stores, so every store gets a drive-through.
Yes.
And what's the mix right now on drive-through sales?
Oh, 70% is drive-through.
Really? Okay. Wow, that's huge.
Yeah.
What about you, Greg? Future?
So I think QSR is on its way out as long as they continue to try to compete with fast casual. So they're not made for it. They can't provide it. And their box economics does not allow them to be they're value based. So McDonald's and those of the world can't change or pivot. And you can look at Subway right now as a perfect example. Subway went and tried to pivot to a high-end sandwich.
Yeah.
High-end for them, never high-end, but high-end for them, and their customers didn't flock to it. I'm going to put slicers in and all that. They're a value-based proposition. QSR is value-based, and that's where the consumer is. And as the economy continues to run this route, they have to stay with where they are. And fast casual has to stay in that elevated world that they were, and they got to continue to elevate. The pressure's on fast casual to always up the game without changing who you are.
Right.
And fast casual needs to own the true segment middle ground between full service and QSR.
Yeah.
QSR is, hey, quick value. Food quality is never what fast casual was. And fast casual can't start dropping their food quality to compete or value based. They got to own what they are. We're the elevated experience that's still fast.
Yeah.
And we always used to call it fast casual, in the sense that we were classy, we were a little bit higher end, but we knew where we were and that we had to continue to elevate what we are every day.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because I see more brands that are taking the bait and try to hit a price point that's a little bit lower, looking at maybe a little bit lower quality of product, and they're kind of dumbing the brand down itself.
Right now, we're in such uncharted territory.
A lot of price pressure.
Well, we have price pressure. We have the economy, that is not good. And anyone that wants to tell you the economy is killing it, it's not. The hard data is the economy is struggling. Blue collar workers are, don't have the money to eat anymore.
Yeah.
And you're taking price down to try to keep where you are. And that's why you saw McDonald's with the $5 value meal. You see all these things coming because they're not coming. So when McDonald's has to go and discount and it still doesn't work and they see transactions, then the economy sucks.
Yeah.
The companies that are trying to do it need to go about doing it different. It's not really about talking about, hey, I dropped my price or a BOGO or stuff like that. Find another niche or another revenue stream that you can add, or a new product line, so you don't cheapen yourself. And so we did about almost 2 years ago now, we introduced a whole value segment in all of my brands where we didn't make a big announcement about it. We introduced a new segment, a new line. So we went a small bowl. Small chef bowls were priced accordingly. At Budlong, for example, we used to do the full breast sandwich. Well, we kept the full breast. That's a plus cost, but we added a chicken thigh sandwich, which in our eyes is better quality. But that sandwich price is $7.99 compared to $12.99. And so we didn't take price, we introduced something new to drive traffic and still maintain the quality that we needed. Those are the things that have to happen if you're going to get through this.
Well, I mean, it's also becoming a bit of a war between the sectors, because casual dining also trying to impede on fast casual by dropping their quality and trying to increase their speed. You have fast casual. I think that's the real competition ground right now, is casual to fast casual.
I agree, because casual is in a whole different world. I mean, their rent, their economics of their boxes, people aren't coming back the way they need to. I mean, and I have big box stores and BDs and Gingas. Our rents are through the roof. They're horrible. We can't get enough people in to fill them again because they just aren't there. They don't come in. So they're going to continue to try to do that, but they've been doing that since COVID.
Sure.
Taking away the delivery segment and all that, and everyone. So I mean, it's not new. It's more of they've got to do whatever to survive because the rents are so high, and you're going to see a lot more big box or the classy casual or the casual dining go out. So Red Lobster, Hooters is on the verge. I mean, all these blocks are going to tumble, and it's going to set everything apart again.
I think we're in for another generation of more brands. This is kind of to both of you. Do you see this category getting more regional-based brands, or do you think the big guys are going to try to figure out how to expand into more regions?
I think it's an ebb and flow. I think you have these different timelines you go through. I think there's still going to be those regional favorites that everybody loves. I mean, officially right now, Taco John's will be considered a regional brand. We're largely in the upper Midwest. We've got a cult following in those necks of the wood. We're looking for ways to expand the brand in a really meaningful way, but growing in a really intentional, concentrically diverse way versus flag planting here and here and here. I think brands continue to ebb and flow. Some brands work better in some parts of the country than others. I think just the economics of running the brands is important to think about too.
Do you stick in tier one, or however you look at markets, is there a population density size? How do you kind of select the?
We've
that's a good
historically
city.
done really, really well in really rural areas.
Okay.
We've got some locations that are just in small towns, and those folks are really loyal to our brand. We're really grateful for all of the things they've done for us. But I think, just the communities in general are evolving too. People are moving out of the heavily agricultural focused rural communities and into more suburban communities, and that's where we're continuing to grow our brand.
Yeah, for sure. Again, Heather and Greg, it's been great having you on today. Thank you so much for jumping in on the podcast. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
You bet.
Hey viewers, thanks again for supporting Room for Seconds. If you found this episode inspiring, interesting, or any bit informative, please hit that little subscribe button down at the bottom so you never miss an episode. In my 26 years in this amazing industry, I've been blessed with incredible mentorship. This show is my way of giving back. Follow me on LinkedIn, search Gregg Majewski, on Twitter @Gregg_Majewski. If you still have room for more, visit our website at media.craveworthybrands.com. You'll find more videos, shows, notes, blogs, resources, and an easy way to get in touch with the Craveworthy Brands team. I'm your host, Gregg Majewski. Thanks again for tuning in to Room for Seconds.